What's going on there, guys? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on this Thursday night. It is December 22nd, 2022, about 8:57 p.m. here in the state of California. Latest earthquake here shows a 3.0 earthquake. See exactly where that's at. Looks like in the area of Poland. Latest earthquake coming in to the earthquake 3D globe there. As noted, looks like about 10 kilometers deep around the Poland area. All right, looking at the West Coast activity here, latest map here from the USGS, 24 hours of earthquake activity. Still seeing some movement up here into Northern California, right around the southern branch here, or southern end of the Cascadia megathrust area. Now, over the last 24 hours, we've seen about 12 earthquakes, and the last one roughly about 1 o'clock. Now, I know we've seen more activity on the Petrolia station up here, and also the Dinsmore station. So there's still some earthquake activity ramping up here, and they've been happening like that ever since the 6.4 a couple days ago. But for some reason, they stopped reporting them right around the 1 o'clock time. Not for sure why, but obviously there's still earthquake activity showing up as we speak. Petrolia and the Dinsmore station, these two stations are very close to this earthquake activity, and they don't want to report them right now. So I'm not for sure if they turned off the preliminary data systems. Maybe they have it set now for only 2.5 and above because there's so many. And there's a lot more than what they're showing up here on the map. Here it only shows about 169. You can probably triple that number at least, far as the amount of earthquakes that have happened following that 6.4. So I'm guessing that they're maybe trying to play catch up. There's still some earthquakes out there that have not been reviewed, and these are from a couple days ago following that 6.4 that still have yet to be reviewed and adjusted accordingly, far as the location or the depth or even the magnitude goes. But either way, nothing showing up here from the USGS since 1 o'clock. But we know there's a lot more activity. So who knows? Not for sure why they would do that, but hey, we just got to keep moving on. All right, aside from that, definitely seeing some activity, okay? That did not come to a stop. Movement along the creeping segment here of the San Andreas Fault. Some of that activity, it looks like, from earlier this evening. A couple ones out there just off the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault there this evening. And a little bit of activity in SoCal, not a whole lot. We're getting a little swarming in between a couple different segments of the San Jacinto fault zone here. Today, just a couple little small microquakes in between that segment. No major activity going on across the southern portion of the state. And a quick glance here at the 2.5 map and above. Only shows that activity up here into Northern California. Pacific Northwest, things kind of mellow up there. Not a whole lot going on. One earthquake, it looks like, outside of Mount St. Helens. Let's go ahead and give a quick glance here at the tremor map here tonight and see what we have. 267 epicenters of tremor now. I want to go back here a couple days and see if maybe they snuck some tremors on. Doesn't look like it. I remember there was a period here earlier this year, I think, where there was no tremors for weeks at a time. And come to find out, they had some type of network issue, and then they threw them all out there at once without really even telling anybody. So sometimes these events happen, and they just they put them on after the fact, days later, sometimes weeks later. But either way, it looks like 267 epicenters, mostly around the Medford area. Underneath this area, down dip, of course, into the Cascadia subduction zone area. All right, what else we got? Yellowstone National Park. I know I've been seeing a little bit of activity here on the Yellowstone seismograph around Lake Yellowstone. I was watching it earlier. Not really seeing too much right now. Things look pretty calm. Petrolia kicking back up there with some further earthquake activity. Let me see here what we got for the latest movement across Yellowstone. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot. This is the most recent image. Yep. Some network error up here, I believe. Not for sure what's going on with that. That's definitely not earthquake activity. A little bit of movement over here in the eastern section of the park. Notice around Parker Peak, Pelican Cove, the Promontory, these stations here are picking up some type of signature towards the eastern section of the park, it looks like, but not localized here to this area because these look like distant earthquakes even from this seismograph station that sits over there around the eastern section of the park. So I don't know where they're coming from. Unless something's coming up maybe in Washington area further east. But sometimes we do see those, and I remember messaging the scientist, geologist there in charge at Yellowstone National Park about this activity, and they mentioned, I can't remember the guy's name, but they messaged me back pretty quickly and said that a lot of times these earthquakes that happen over here along the eastern section of the park sometimes take days to, sort out the info as far as the magnitude, the exact location, and the depth of the earthquake activity. So we see that actually a lot. Some of these signatures showing up and no earthquake activity being reported. But it's definitely there. It did show up slightly over here around the northwest corner of the park, a little bit less visible here on the graph, but still there somewhat. All right, as far as activity goes, I'm not 100% certain if this is not Yellowstone, but earthquake activity or maybe wind events starting to show up here across the park at that station. I know there's that cold air mass coming down, but maybe some wind with that as well. Obviously some wind. I'll show you guys I'll show you the wind chill map here in a little bit after earthquake activity. Pretty brutal out there. Seen quite a few flights delayed as well. There's that earthquake up in northern Ohio and one earthquake down into the Missouri area earlier this morning as well, the New Madrid zone. Let's give a quick glance here. Stand by for a second while I pull up the map. Just want to check a couple different stations here. What do we got over here? Is this station operational? Let me check here. Kind of looks like it. Looks like that may be picking up that reading there. Also, around the Black Hills, South Dakota area. As far as that movement, I did not mean to close that. They're in the Yellowstone region. Stand by for a second here. What I wanted to check was the New Madrid seismic zone and see if we got any unreported activity. I know we got wind coming in, got all that cold air coming down, even into this area, and I believe that's what we're seeing across the area here right about the time the cold air mass sunk in. Now, prior to that, it looks like maybe there was some earthquake activity. Kind of hard to tell specifically on this map. So we'd have to check a couple different other ones within the location. I don't know if that's the same one I checked. And I'm really not seeing that. If it was definitely earthquake related, we would be seeing it show up at other nearby stations. But the wind event definitely is picking up that noise, so to speak, that white environmental noise on these seismograph stations from the wind. Cold, brutal wind. Not a south warm Gulf moisture type wind event that I'm sure a lot of people would love or prefer to see. Some activity off the coast or into the Guatemala area, it looks like, from yesterday. Far as newer movement goes, there doesn't look like there's a whole lot around the Caribbean area. A couple small earthquakes north of Puerto Rico. One earthquake here in the last hour around the San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina region, 216 kilometers deep. Way down there into the Peru-Chile Trench. Been seeing a little bit of a deeper earthquake movement here in this area recently. Let's see here. What else we got? Let's head east. See what's popping over here. Looks like a little bit of activity this morning there around portions of the Middle East. And a newer earthquake here. Looks like into the Indonesia area within the last hour. A 4.4 at 145 kilometers deep. Now looking at the earthquake 3D globe here. Let's see what we got for some smaller movement. Looks like things definitely kicking up here into the... Now look at that earthquake, 4.9. Let me see something here. Is that listed up on the map? It is, yeah. This one is an odd earthquake down here. 4.9. That was at 9 o'clock this morning. Well, outside of the South Sandwich Trench area. This is in a portion that we don't really see too much activity near the Drake Passage area. Let's see what we got. It is, of course, along the plate boundary, but it's been a while since I've seen any activity kicking up here. Definitely seen activity historically through the region, but like I said, it's been a while since I've seen some movement there like that. If I remember right, it was about the time the 8-pointer struck out here last year is when the last time we've seen some movement in this region. So might want to watch the South Sandwich area. They definitely have seen some movement here over the last 30 days. We'll check it out here, specifically within the subduction zone. About 24 earthquakes, and this is just 4.5 and above. The largest being a 5.6. Again, this is the area that's seen, I believe, a 7.7 and also an 8.1 last year, along with, of course, many other earthquakes since then. So we'll watch that zone. And activity around the Indonesia area. I know I kind of got skipped over there looking at the globe. But Indonesia definitely showing a bunching up of earthquake activity continuing today in the 3 and 4 department of the magnitudes. Just always seems to be kicking up there within that region. New Zealand area, most of this is some older activity. Literally, it should have popped off the globe by now. I may drop this down just a tad bit for the hours that these quakes show up here on the globe. Should be around 24 hours or so now. Sometimes they stay up there. Either way, there should be a couple listed on the globe, but not as many as what was showing. Latest earthquake looks like this morning time period around the Fiji Islands, well south of the Fiji. It's actually the Kermadec Trench region, 4.9, 57 kilometers deep. So still kind of waiting on some activity here, folks. A westward pressure movement, some type of major event to get things back to... I don't know if you can say average, but we're missing out on some quakes here. We should start seeing a whole bunch of deeper movement here around Fiji, and at least some activity stretching across Solomon Islands and around the Philippine plate here, but it's been very active. The Kuril-Kamchatka Trench up here is it's there. It's definitely building up some strain, but doesn't look like anything has popped off there recently. Nothing really showing up here on the map either. There's an older 5.0 north of Tokyo. That was looks like this morning time period. So definitely a couple areas to watch out there. Alaska, I think that's about the only one right now showing a little bit of further increasing activity across areas around this volcano up here. Seeing a little swarm of movement. I don't think we've seen any newer updates there from the volcano folks, but still seeing a little swarming and some movement around the Aleutian Trench. Looks like the majority of this activity today around the mainland up here. Typical activity stretching up across the Cook Inlet, Denali, and up north around Fairbanks. Very typical and active, it looks like today. 2.5 map kind of shows that general pressure shooting up into the area. Major subduction zone down here. Let me check out Canada here real quick and see what we got. Let's see here. Earthquakes Canada. Not a whole lot popping up. They're showing that Ohio one. Looks like most of the activity being reported around the Alaska area. Nothing new to report across the region on the map there. GeoNet servers, let's go ahead and check that out here real quick and see what we have for the New Zealand area. right here. And looks like yesterday was the last reported earthquake, at least for the week and above. The week felt and above, not the week, but yeah, you guys get it. All magnitudes. Let's go ahead and check this out here. Looks like a couple earthquakes within the last couple hours, some very small ones, but again, this seems to be the quiet zone right now. Let's look at the volcano drums and check out, see what we have. A little activity kicking up, specifically around the Taupo volcano. Looks like some of that activity showed up briefly across other areas, across other volcanoes in the vicinity. But the epicenter of those quakes, a couple of these small little quakes here around the Taupo volcano. But no major activity, just a little bit of typical movement. Got to watch that, though, for any major swarms that may create little newsworthy events out there. All right, let's see what else we got. Far as it's been a long day. I was up in the snow again in the mountains with the kids, having a little fun up there before it all melts. We got some much warmer systems coming in. Going to bring a whole bunch of rain, but it's going to melt all the snow, and that may not be good. But our reservoirs out here can definitely handle it. All right. Looks like that's about it for earthquake activity. Any strange areas? Don't really see any, except for a couple down here into the Drake Passage area, and of course Alaska kicking up. Now, weather activity, goodness. Make sure this is the most recent map here. Yep. Wow. That's about all I can say here. Look at this wide area of some extreme cold temperatures. Now, this is the wind chill map. There's a lot of wind out there. Negative 50 below zero in the wind chill department up there around portions of Montana. Yes, those folks are definitely, I don't know if that's normal or not. I know they do get these colder events that happen, but it doesn't come down in the portions of the southern plains and all the way down to the Gulf Coast. That's just absolutely crazy. Temperatures down there around portions of the Gulf Coast. Looks like maybe Galveston area. 9 degrees for the wind chill. Oklahoma and my possible soon-to-be state. Relocated state, hopefully. Future home. Beautiful state of Kansas. Temperatures in the negative 20, negative 25. Now, this is the wind chill again. This is pretty brutal. If you're going to be out there in the wind, that's, man, I can only imagine. I wouldn't mind experiencing that type of event at least once. Weather is kind of my thing here. So, yeah, I would definitely like to experience it. I think the coldest I've ever experienced was negative 6 up in Alaska when I was up there a couple years ago. That was the actual air temperature. Now, the actual air temperature, look how far east this is spreading. Getting cold out there, folks. I was just checking some weather events here. A massive amount of moisture coming into California here pretty soon after Christmas, and we need it. Let's go over here to the temperature map. This is the current temperatures here. This is the air temperature, not the feels like temperature. What feels like 1 degree to me might feel like 30 degrees to you. I don't know if I really agree with the feels like temperature maps, but it is what it is, and these are the actual temperatures up here. Still below zero throughout the majority of Kansas. Oklahoma getting down there as well. Oklahoma City, 7 degrees right now. You've got to remember negative 20. What was it? Negative. Looks like Oklahoma area negative 12 for that. With that wind chill. And down into Texas, Dallas, 14 degrees right now. And of course down here around the Gulf Coast area, looks like portions, Lake Jackson area, Galveston's 35 degrees, so it's kind of the warmer spot. Of course, this water is kind of keeping things a little bit warmer right at the extreme coast, but that air is spreading east, and it is coming along with some wind. So But it's not going to last forever, guys. I mean, if we were to shoot towards the weekend, things are still cold. But look at that, Sunday, December 25th, around Christmas time, 3 p.m. Definitely above freezing, 40s out there. It's a lot better than 40 below zero. All right, let's see what we got for space weather activity. And I've seen that the solar ham site is now functionable, but I'm going to wait a couple days to make sure that the security has not been compromised on the new site that the solarham.net site uses, or the server that the solarham.net site is on. But as far as flare activity right now, things pretty minimal. We did see a couple C flares yesterday, it looks like, but I'm not really seeing anything major as far as flare activity goes. I'll give a quick glance here at the magnetic structure of these sunspots and see what we have. Yeah, this is a massive sunspot. It still really hasn't done anything, though. We're not looking any more complex. The instability looks fairly stable across the majority of these sunspots. Now, there is a newer sunspot back here, northeastern side limb of the sun. We'll watch that, and maybe that will provide us with a little bit of flaring. Who knows? Possibly. We'll definitely keep an eye on it. All is quiet. All is calm. Right? Isn't that the song to sing around the Christmas time of year? Only a couple minor C flares been reported. Doesn't look like, let's see what the threat level is right now as far as the flare goes. 20% chance for an M flare. X flare around 5%. So they actually dropped these numbers a little bit. It's updated today. No major geomagnetic storms forecasted. There's slight chances. Looking at this current aurora, though, we're seeing a little bit of unsettled conditions into portions of Canada, Alaska, Greenland, and Iceland area. All looking like they may see something if they got clear skies. Not a huge storm, but possible as far as this probability of aurora model goes. All right, guys. I think that's about it. Again, stay warm out there. And we'll be back here tomorrow, of course, as always. I'm leaving up the earthquake watch for now. If we see activity kind of die down, which I really don't think it is there in Northern California, we're still seeing quite a bit of activity on the Petrolia station. That's why I run these live seismographs, so we can see the activity that comes in, and that's going to be the station right here, Petrolia. And of course I have another one down there called Dinsmore, and there's been activity all afternoon and all evening. Nothing has changed, but they stopped reporting the earthquakes at about 1 o'clock today. Completely. Haven't reported anything since then. So it looks as though the activity has died off, when in fact it really hasn't. So I'm just not for sure why they do that. But hey, I'm not behind the controls of the machine. I'm just here to report it for now. Stay safe, folks. We will catch you guys a little bit later tomorrow sometime. Stay warm. Have a good one.